I've been to hundreds of funerals. I've listened to prayers and poems. I've watched video tributes and heard the most wonderful eulogies about lives well lived. You may be wondering, am I a musician, a minister, a photographer? I'm none of these, but for a brief period in my life, I was a licensed funeral director. As a funeral director, I arranged hundreds of funerals for people who died far too soon. Sure, there were a few people that lived to a beautiful old age, but most, they weren't supposed to die just then. It was sudden, and it was too soon. And the families that I met with as well, sitting across the table making funeral arrangements on a random Tuesday at 11 a.m., they weren't supposed to be there either. They were supposed to be at work, at the dentist, living their normal lives. But life had other plans. You know, after attending all those funerals and meeting with all those individuals, I noticed something, a through line. Most people thought they had more time. They were going to start that business next year, take that trip after I retire, make that call next weekend. They had full calendars, big plans, and unlimited tomorrows until they didn't. A few years after being in the funeral industry, I left that and I went to Boston and took a job at a big tech corporation. And I, like everyone else, promptly filled my calendar with back-to-back meetings, tight projects, great deadlines, and my schedule was packed weeks in advance. And then on a random Tuesday, my wife Rhonda called with devastating news. News that would change the trajectory of our lives. Not long after, we found ourselves sitting across from a funeral director, making arrangements that we never could have imagined. Rhonda's only child, Dustin, died unexpectedly. He was 24, dedicated to his guitar, committed to meditation, and a fiercely loving and loyal friend. He loved great comedies and always had the perfect, witty comment to make you laugh when you least expected it. Dustin's time with us was cut short, and he was gone far too soon. Before Dustin died, we were planning a trip to Australia to visit my aunt because she had lost her only child 3 years earlier, and we wanted to be there for her because who could possibly imagine the grief of losing your only child? We planned that trip as a family of 3, but we took it as 2, carrying our unbearable loss with us. On that trip, somewhere between the overwhelming grief and the effort just to make it through each day, a divine possibility presented itself to us. It was a self-serve dog wash station. Don't even know how I saw it, but somehow I did. There, in the midst of that overwhelming grief that felt heavier than stone, little did we know that a divine possibility was taking root. 18 months later, we would bring our first self-serve dog wash stations to San Diego and launch our small business in December of 2019, just a few months before COVID would shut down the world. Total disaster, right? Except The only thing that you could do at that time was socially distance. Walk your dog on the beach, sandy, salty. What do you need? An outdoor dog wash station. Our little business took off. Today we have 4 locations and have washed over 80,000 dogs. You know what's interesting? Between losing Dustin too soon and discovering dog wash stations in the midst of soul-crushing grief, I learned something. We've been living it backwards. We think that we have unlimited time and limited possibilities. We don't. Right now, you have about 6 minutes less than when I started talking. So here's my question for you. What would change if you believed that all possibilities exist for you right now? Not someday, not when you have more time or more money or more clarity. Now, what would you start? What would you say yes to? What becomes possible when you stop living like you have unlimited time and start living like you have unlimited possibilities? Thank you.